My family threw me out on Christmas dinner. 5 minutes later, they begged me to come back, but I had already seen their secret. They slammed the door on me in the snow, then they begged. But begging doesn't fix 23 years of being invisible. I had $12 and a book that could ruin them, and that's when they started pleading. They called me the failure, until the night they needed me to save them. I didn't say yes, and I didn't say no. I still remember the weight of the snow on my shoulders as I stood on the front porch, staring at the closed door. The frosty air bit my cheeks, but it was nothing compared to the cold I felt inside my chest. That door had slammed behind me with a sound I will never forget. It was the sound of 23 years of trying to be enough, ending in one stupid second. My name is Megan, and this is the story of the Christmas I stopped being the family doormat. Let me start from the beginning, because you need to understand what kind of family we are. The Harrisons of Maple Street, small town Ohio, the picture of suburban perfection. My dad, Richard Harrison, is a car dealer with a handshake like a politician and a smile that never reaches his eyes. My mom, Patricia, runs the household like a five-star general. Everything has its place. Everyone has their role. And my role, for as long as I can remember, has been the one they all step on. I have two older siblings. My brother, Kyle, is 30, a junior partner at a law firm, married to a woman named Brittany who speaks in whispers and wears pearls to breakfast. My sister, Emma, is 28, a real estate agent with a perfect ponytail and a perfect husband named Chad who sells luxury boats to people who don't need them. They are the golden ones. They have the right jobs, the right spouses, the right opinions. And then there's me. Megan, the youngest, the one who didn't go to law school or get a ring on her finger. The one who works at a small bookstore downtown and lives in a tiny apartment above a laundromat. The one who dares to be single at 23, which in my mother's eyes is practically a crime. I thought I was used to it. I really did. The little digs at Thanksgiving about how I was still figuring things out. The way my dad would hand me $20 at family gatherings as if I were a charity case. The way Emma would re-gift me candles she clearly didn't want, and Kyle would pat my head like I was a child. I swallowed it all year after year because they were family. You don't fight family, you just survive them. But this Christmas was different. This year, I had finally done something for myself, something that mattered. 6 months ago, I finished writing a novel. Me, Megan Harrison, the family failure. I wrote a story about a girl who grows up invisible in her own home, who learns to shine anyway. I poured every tear, every silent dinner, every time I was told I wasn't good enough into those pages. And 2 weeks before Christmas, I got an offer from a publisher. A real one, not a vanity press, not a small online thing. A proper advance, a contract, a book that would be in stores next fall. I was so excited I couldn't breathe. I wanted to tell them at Thanksgiving, but my mother spent the whole dinner talking about Emma's new listing and Kyle's big case. There was never a moment, so I decided Christmas would be my moment. I wrapped a copy of my manuscript in gold paper and put a little card on top that said, "To my family, from the author you never saw coming." I was nervous, sure, but I also felt something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. I need you to understand what hope felt like for me. It wasn't a big, bright thing. It was small, like a candle in a dark room. I had been blowing out that candle for years, every time they made a joke at my expense. Every time they forgot my birthday or called me by the wrong name just to see if I'd correct them. But this time, the candle stayed lit. This time, I had proof that I wasn't nothing. A publisher said I was something. And I thought, finally, my family would see it too. I was wrong. We always do Christmas dinner at my parents' house. The same routine since I was a kid. The big oak table with the linen tablecloth, the china that only comes out twice a year, the centerpiece my mom spends 3 hours arranging. Everyone arrives at 4, presents at 5, dinner at 6. I showed up at 3:45 because I'm always early and always told I'm in the way. I helped my mom in the kitchen while she complained about the gravy being too thin and my sister forgetting to bring the wine. I set the table while my dad watched football in the living room and shouted about referees. Same old music, same old dance. But this time, I had a secret. A good secret. And secrets have a way of making everything feel electric. The gifts came first. Kyle and Brittany gave my parents a weekend getaway to a bed and breakfast. Emma and Chad gave them a new espresso machine. Then they gave each other expensive scarves and leather gloves and tickets to concerts. My gift to Kyle was a first edition of a legal thriller I found at the bookstore. He opened it, said, "Oh, thanks, Meg," and put it aside. Emma got a silk pillowcase set. She held it up with 2 fingers like it might be dirty. "How sweet," she said, and then she gave me her gift. A sweater. It was 2 sizes too big and the color of a moldy avocado. I saw the price tag still on it. $7 from a clearance bin. I smiled. I always smile. But this time, the smile felt different. It felt like a mask. Behind it, I was thinking, just wait until they see what I have. My dad gave me an envelope with a $50 gift card to a grocery store. "So you can eat," he said, and everyone laughed. Even Brittany, who never laughs. Even Chad, who thinks he's too cool for family dinners. They all laughed. And I laughed too, because that's what I do. I make myself small so they don't have to feel bad about being big. Then my dad cleared his throat and said, "Meg, you're next. Open your big one." My heart thumped. I held up the gold-wrapped package. "Actually, this one's for all of you," I said. My voice was steadier than I felt. "I've been working on something for a long time, and I wanted to share it with you today." My mom raised an eyebrow. My sister leaned forward with a tiny smirk. My brother checked his phone. I unwrapped the manuscript myself and placed it in the center of the table like an offering. My novel, the story I had bled for. "What is it?" my dad asked, frowning. "A book," I said. "I wrote a novel. And it's going to be published next year." Silence. The kind of silence that fills a room like smoke. Then my mother laughed. It wasn't a happy laugh. It was a short, sharp disbelief laugh. "You wrote a book?" "Yes, Mom. I've been writing for years. I just never told you because I knew you'd say it was a waste of time." Emma picked up the manuscript like it was a dirty diaper. "Megan, come on. You can't just write a book. People go to school for that. They get MFAs and agents and—" "I have an agent," I said quietly. "And a publisher. It's real, Emma." Kyle finally looked up from his phone. "Wait, you're serious? Like actual money?" "Yes. A 5-figure advance." That got my dad's attention. His eyes narrowed. 5 figures? Doing what exactly? Writing about our family? I froze. Because yes, some of it was about them. Not the names, not the places, but the feeling. The one where you're the last one picked. The one where you learn that love from your family is conditional. I had changed everything, but the heart of the story was mine. My mother must have seen something in my face because she stood up so fast her chair scraped the floor. "You wrote about us? You put our private lives in a book for strangers to read?" "I didn't put your names." "Don't lie to me, Megan Harrison. I know that look. You've always been dramatic, always the victim. Poor little Megan with her big feelings and her little apartment and her make-believe career." My chest tightened. "It's not make-believe. I have a contract. I have a deadline. This is real." "What's real is that you've embarrassed this family enough," my dad said, standing now too. His face was red. "You couldn't be a lawyer like Kyle. You couldn't be in sales like Emma. No, you had to go write some trashy novel about us. About me?" "I didn't write about you," I said, but my voice cracked. Emma threw the manuscript back onto the table. It landed with a sad little thud. "Oh, please. The neglected daughter, the cold parents, the perfect siblings who don't understand her. It's so obvious. You're making us look like monsters." "You don't need my book to look like monsters," I whispered. And that was the wrong thing to say. The room went absolutely still. My mother's face turned white, my father's jaw clenched. Kyle stood up and pointed at the door. "Get out, Megan." "What?" "You heard me. You come into our parents' house on Christmas, you insult everyone, you try to make yourself into some kind of hero. Get out, now." I looked at my mom. She wouldn't meet my eyes. I looked at Emma. She was smiling. Actually smiling. I looked at my dad. He was already walking toward me, his hand out like he was going to grab my arm. "Don't touch me," I said. "I'll go." I grabbed my coat. I didn't take the manuscript. I didn't take the moldy green sweater. I walked to the front door and I heard my mother say, "Finally, maybe she'll learn some respect." I opened the door. The cold air hit me like a wall. I stepped outside and behind me I heard my dad say, "Don't come back until you can apologize." And then the door slammed. The sound echoed down the street. I stood on the porch for a second, just breathing. Snowflakes landed on my eyelashes. My hands were shaking. I thought about my apartment, 20 minutes away by bus, but the buses weren't running because it was Christmas. I thought about calling my best friend, Sarah, but she was with her family 3 states away. I thought about crying, but my eyes were too dry. Too shocked. I started walking down the driveway. My boots crunched on the frozen grass. The snow was coming down harder now, big fluffy flakes that would have been beautiful if I wasn't freezing. I pulled my coat tighter. I didn't have gloves. I didn't have a hat. I had my phone, my keys, and $12 in my pocket. That was it. That was the sum total of what my family thought I was worth. As I walked, memories flooded back. I was 7 years old, standing in the school hallway, waiting for my mom to pick me up from a birthday party. She forgot. I waited 2 hours. When she finally came, she said, "Why are you crying?" "It's not a big deal." I was 12, bringing home a report card with all A's and 1 B. My dad looked at it and said, "Kyle never got B's." I was 16, trying on prom dresses in front of Emma. She said, "You don't have the body for that one." I wore it anyway, and she spent the whole night whispering to her friends. I was 19, telling them I wanted to be a writer. My mom laughed. "Writers starve, Megan. Be realistic." I had been realistic my whole life. I had been small and quiet and easy to ignore. And now, on Christmas night, I was walking through the snow like a ghost. A ghost they had created. I was almost to the sidewalk when I heard the door open behind me. "Megan, Megan, wait." It was my mother's voice, high and thin, not angry anymore, something else, something I had never heard before. Fear. I kept walking. I didn't turn around. "Please, Megan, come back inside. It's freezing. You'll get sick." I stopped, not because I wanted to, because my feet wouldn't move. I turned slowly. My mother was standing in the doorway in her Christmas sweater, her perfect hair starting to come loose from its clip. Behind her, I could see shadows moving in the hallway. My dad, Kyle, Emma, they were all watching. "What do you want, Mom?" My voice sounded strange, flat. She hesitated. Then she said something I never expected. "The book, your book, we need to talk about the book." My heart did something weird, a twist and a skip. "Why?" She looked back into the house, then at me. Her face was pale. "Because your father just got a call from his business partner. Someone sent him an early copy, an advance reader copy, someone who knew you. And Megan, honey, there are things in that book that could ruin us." I blinked. Snow melted on my cheeks. "What are you talking about?" She stepped outside, shivering in her thin sweater. "The part about the dealership, the numbers, the way you wrote about the money. Megan, you didn't just write about feelings, you wrote about things you couldn't possibly know." But I did know. I had known for years. The way my dad's dealership stayed afloat while others failed. The whispered phone calls. The special deals for certain people. The way he told me once, when he was drunk at a barbecue, that business is business and you do what you have to do. I didn't understand it then. But I understood more than they thought. I had put it in the book as fiction, but I had used real details. Real numbers. Real patterns. I didn't do it on purpose to hurt them. I did it because those details made the story real. But standing there in the snow, watching my mother beg, I realized that art and revenge sometimes look exactly the same. "Megan, please," she said. Her voice broke. "Your father could lose everything. The lawsuit, if anyone connects the dots." "What lawsuit?" I asked, even though I already knew. My dad had been sued twice before for shady practices. Both times it had been settled quietly. But this time, the book had details that matched a pending investigation. Details I didn't even know were real until that moment. I had made them up. But the universe, it seemed, had a dark sense of humor. My dad appeared in the doorway. His face was ashen. "Megan, come inside. We'll talk. We'll figure something out." "You threw me out," I said. "You told me not to come back." "I was angry," he said. "We were all angry, but your family." "Family forgives," I laughed. It came out bitter and cold. "Family forgives, then why am I the only one who ever apologizes? Why am I the only one who ever changes? You don't want me back. You want the book back. You want to control what I write." Emma pushed past my dad. Her perfect ponytail was crooked. "Megan, be reasonable. That book could destroy Dad's business. It could affect Kyle's law firm. It could affect Chad's reputation. You don't understand how the world works." "I understand perfectly," I said. "The world works like this. You kick someone when they're down, and then you beg them to save you when they stand up. Well, I'm standing up now. And I'm not saving anyone." I turned and started walking again. "Megan, please," my mother screamed. The neighbors were probably watching from behind their curtains. Let them watch. Let them see the perfect Harrisons fall apart. I kept walking. I was at the corner now. The streetlight cast orange circles in the snow. "We'll give you money," my dad shouted. $10,000. 20, whatever you want, just pull the book. Change the details, say it's fiction. Anything? I stopped again, not for the money, for something else. I turned and looked at them, all huddled in the doorway like a terrible nativity scene. The golden children, the perfect parents, begging me. "You want to know what I want?" I called back. "I want one Christmas where I'm not the joke. I want one dinner where no one hands me a clearance sweater or a $20 bill like I'm a charity case. I want you to see me. Not the failure you decided I was. Me, the one who writes books, the one who has feelings, the one who has been standing right in front of you for 23 years, invisible." Silence. The snow kept falling. Then Kyle stepped forward. Kyle, who never apologizes for anything. Kyle, who once told me I was emotionally exhausting at my own birthday dinner. He looked at the ground, then at me. "You're right," he said. His voice was rough. "We treated you like garbage, all of us. I'm sorry." I waited. One apology wasn't enough. Emma crossed her arms. Then slowly she uncrossed them. "I'm sorry too," she said, barely above a whisper. "The sweater was mean. I knew it was ugly. I bought it because I thought it was funny." My mother was crying now, silent tears running down her face. "I'm sorry, baby. I'm so sorry. I was jealous. I was jealous that you did something brave, something I never could. And I tried to make you small because I felt small." My dad didn't speak. He just stared at me. Then he walked down the driveway, through the snow, until he was standing in front of me. He took off his coat and put it over my shoulders. It was warm from his body. It smelled like his cologne, the same one he's worn since I was a little girl. "I am proud of you," he said. His voice cracked. "I should have said it a long time ago. I am proud of you, Megan, and I am ashamed of myself." I looked at him. This man who had terrified me for so long. This man who had made me feel like nothing. He was just a man. A flawed, scared, selfish man, like all of us. "I'm not pulling the book," I said. His face fell. "But I'll add an author's note," I continued. "I'll say it's a work of fiction inspired by universal themes, not real people. That's the truth anyway. I wrote about feelings, not facts. If someone sees their own reflection in my story, that's not my fault." He nodded slowly. "And the details, the numbers? I'll talk to my publisher. We can change the numbers. Make them less specific. I didn't know they were real, Dad. I swear, I just wrote what felt right." He let out a breath. His shoulders slumped. Okay, that's fair. "But I'm not coming back inside tonight," I said. "Not for dinner. Not for the rest of the Christmas you already ruined." My mother sobbed. Kyle put his arm around her. "I'll come tomorrow," I said. "If you really mean what you said, if this isn't just about the book. But tomorrow, we talk. Really talk. About everything, and if you can't do that, then don't call me." My dad looked at me for a long time, then he nodded. "Tomorrow," he said, "I'll make coffee, we'll talk." I handed him back his coat. "I'll take the bus. Megan, it's Christmas, there are no buses. Then I'll walk. I've been walking my whole life. Another 20 minutes won't kill me." I turned and started down the street. The snow was beautiful now. Soft and white and forgiving. I heard the door close behind me. Not a slam this time. A soft click. The sound of something ending, or maybe something beginning. I walked through the snow and I didn't cry. Not because I was strong. Because I was empty. Empty of the anger I had carried for so long. Empty of the hope I had pinned on their approval. Empty of the little girl who just wanted to be loved. And in that emptiness, I found something new. Space. Room to breathe. Room to write. Room to be Megan, not the Harrisons' disappointment, not the family failure, not the one who got thrown out on Christmas. Just Megan, the one who walked away, and the one who would walk back, but only on her own terms. The snow fell around me like a blessing, and for the first time in 23 years, I felt free. But freedom, I learned, is not a straight line. It twists. It turns. It has shadows. I walked for about 10 minutes before my phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me look. It said, "You think they're sorry? Read the group chat." My stomach dropped. I didn't have access to their family group chat. I had been removed from it 2 years ago after I complained too much. So how could this person see it? Who was this? Another buzz, this time a screenshot. It was the Harrison family group chat, the one I wasn't in, and there, in black and white, were messages from the last 10 minutes. Kyle, she's not coming back. We have to fix this. Dad, you need to call your lawyer. Emma, she's so dramatic, walking in the snow like a movie. Someone just go get her. My mom, I can't believe she wrote those numbers. She had to have known. She's smarter than she acts. My dad. Of course she knew. She's been playing dumb for years. This is blackmail, pure and simple. Emma, then pay her off. Give her the 20,000 and make her sign something. Kyle, that's not how it works. If she signs, it looks guilty. We need to convince her to change it willingly. My mom, then pretend, apologize, make her feel loved. She's desperate for that. One hug and she'll do anything. My dad, Patricia's right. She's always been weak for affection. We'll play the loving family tomorrow. She'll fold. Emma, and after she changes the book, what then? We just go back to ignoring her. My mom, of course. What else would we do? My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped the phone. I read the messages again, and again, each word was a knife. They weren't sorry, they were acting. The apologies, the tears, my dad's coat on my shoulders, it was all a performance. A strategy. They saw my weakness, my desperate need to be loved, and they were going to use it. I leaned against a street lamp and threw up into a snowbank. The cold burned my throat. I wiped my mouth with the back of my glove and stared at the phone. Another text from the unknown number. I'm sorry you had to see that, but you deserve to know. My name is Laura. I'm an assistant at your publisher's office. I've been reading your book for work. It saved my life. I couldn't let them destroy you. Laura, I didn't know her, but she knew me. She knew my story before my own family ever would, and she had just given me the greatest gift anyone ever had. The truth. I sat down on a bench, the snow piling on my shoulders. I didn't feel cold anymore. I felt something much worse. I felt seen. And being seen, when you've been invisible your whole life, is terrifying. What was I going to do now? Go back tomorrow and pretend I didn't know? Let them hug me and lie to me and manipulate me into changing my book. Or walk away forever and lose the only family I had, even if they were broken. I sat there for an hour. The snow turned to sleet. The sleet turned to freezing rain. My phone battery dropped to 10%. And slowly, a plan formed in my head. Not a revenge plan, a truth plan. I called my editor, Rachel. It was Christmas night, but she picked up on the second ring. Megan, what's wrong? I told her everything. The dinner, the door, the group chat, the numbers, I didn't leave anything out. When I finished, she was silent for a long time. Don't change a word, she said finally. Not a single word. But the lawsuit? Let them sue, let them try, we have lawyers. And Megan, we have the truth, you wrote fiction. If they see themselves in it, that's their problem. But I'll tell you something else. That pending investigation your dad mentioned, my husband works in financial crimes. I'm going to make a call, not for the book, for justice. My heart pounded. Rachel, I don't want to destroy them. You're not destroying them, they're destroying themselves, you just wrote a story. The truth has a way of coming out with or without you. The question is, are you going to stand in its way or stand beside it? I looked up at the sky. The freezing rain had stopped. The clouds were breaking apart and a single star shone through. The Christmas star, maybe, or just a star. Either way, it felt like a sign. I'll stand beside it, I said. Good, now go home, get warm, and Megan, Merry Christmas. I smiled for the first time that night, a real smile. Merry Christmas, Rachel. I walked the rest of the way to my apartment. It took 20 minutes. My boots were soaked. My hair was frozen into icicles. But when I unlocked my door and stepped inside, the tiny space felt like a palace. My cat, Edgar, rubbed against my legs. My bookshelf stood against the wall, full of stories that had saved me over and over. My desk faced the window, and on it was a picture of me and my grandmother, the only person in the family who ever believed in me. She died when I was 15, but sometimes, late at night, I still felt her hand on my shoulder. I changed into dry clothes, made tea, and sat down at my desk. I opened my laptop, and I wrote, not the book was done. I wrote the truth, every word of what had happened that night, the door slamming, the snow, the group chat, the apologies that were lies. I wrote it all down, not for publication, but for myself. Because if I didn't write it, I would carry it inside me like poison. And I had carried enough poison for one lifetime. At 3 in the morning, I finally slept. And I dreamed of my grandmother. She was baking cookies in her small kitchen, the one that always smelled like cinnamon. She turned to me and smiled. "You're stronger than you know, Meggie," she said. "Stronger than all of them combined." I woke up at 8. My phone was full of messages, most of them from my family, pretending to be loving. "Good morning, sweetheart. Can't wait to see you today. Coffee's on, we love you. Let's make this right, Meg, we're family." I didn't reply. Instead, I showered, dressed in my favorite jeans and a sweater that actually fit, and walked to the bus stop. The bus was running again, and by some Christmas miracle, it came right away. I sat in the back, staring out the window at the melting snow. The world was gray and wet, but there was something clean about it, like everything had been washed. I got off at my parents' street and walked up the driveway. The house looked the same, big and white and perfect. But I wasn't the same. I knocked on the door. My mother opened it. Her eyes were red, but she was smiling. A real smile, or the one from the group chat? I couldn't tell anymore. Maybe I never could. "Come in," she said. "We have a lot to talk about." I stepped inside. The tree was still up, still blinking with lights. The presents were still under it. My manuscript was still on the table, exactly where I had left it. And my family was sitting in the living room, waiting. My dad in his favorite chair. Emma on the couch with Chad. Kyle and Brittany on the love seat. They all looked nervous. They all looked sorry. But I knew what they looked like on the inside now. And that changed everything. "Sit down, Megan," my dad said, pointing to the chair by the fireplace. "Let's talk." I didn't sit. I stood in the middle of the room, between the tree and the table, and I looked at each of them, one by one. "Before we talk," I said, "I need to tell you something I know about the group chat." The room went silent. My mother's face turned white. My dad's jaw dropped. Emma looked at Kyle, who looked at the floor. "I don't know how you," my dad started. "It doesn't matter how," I said. "What matters is that I read every word, the blackmail comment, the 'she's weak for affection' comment, the plan to pretend to love me so I would change the book and then go back to ignoring me. I read it all." My mother started crying. Real tears this time, or more acting? I didn't care anymore. "Megan, we didn't mean it," she said. "We were scared. People say things when they're scared." "No," I said. "People say what they really think when they're scared. The mask comes off. And now I've seen what's underneath. All of you. Every single one." Emma stood up. Her face was red. "Fine, you want the truth? Here it is. You've always been the weak one, the one who couldn't handle real life. We didn't respect you because you never gave us a reason to. You worked in a bookstore. You lived in a dump. You wrote a book that nobody asked for. And then you have the nerve to act like you're better than us?" "I never said I was better," I said quietly. "You didn't have to. Your whole book is about how we're the villains, how you're the poor little victim. It's pathetic." Kyle stood up too. "Emma, shut up." "No, I won't shut up. She needs to hear it. She's been playing the victim since she was a kid. Remember when she cried because we forgot her birthday? It's not our job to remember everything. Grow up, Megan." I felt something inside me break, but not the way it used to break. Not into 1,000 pieces that I would have to glue back together. This time, it broke open, and from the cracks, light poured out. "You're right, Emma," I said. "You did forget my birthday, every year. You forgot my school plays, my writing awards, my high school graduation. You forgot to ask me how I was doing ever. You forgot that I was a person with feelings because it was easier to see me as a prop. A punching bag. Someone who made you feel better about your own empty, perfect lives." Chad shifted uncomfortably. Brittany looked at her hands. "But here's the thing," I continued. "I'm not asking you to remember anymore. I'm not asking you to love me or respect me or pretend to be a family. I'm done asking, because I finally realized something that should have been obvious a long time ago." I took a breath. The words came out steady and clear. "You don't have the power to make me feel invisible. Only I have that power, and I'm taking it back." My dad stood up. His face was pale. "Megan, please, the book stays as it is," I said. "Every word, every number. If you're worried about an investigation, maybe you shouldn't have done things that could be investigated. That's not my fault. That's yours." "You're destroying this family," my mother whispered. "No, Mom, you destroyed it a long time ago. I'm just not going to pretend it's still standing." I walked to the table and picked up my manuscript. The gold wrapping paper was crumpled, but the pages inside were fine. I held it to my chest like a shield. I'm going to leave now, I said. And I'm not going to come back. Not tomorrow, not next Christmas, not ever, unless something changes. Real change, not performance, not manipulation. Change that comes from inside each of you because you want to be better, not because you're scared of a book. Kyle stepped toward me. Megan, wait. I'm sorry about the group chat. I didn't write any of that. I didn't stop it. And I should have. Yes, I said. You should have, he nodded. I know, and I'm sorry for real this time, no act. I looked at him, really looked. His eyes were wet. His hands were shaking. Maybe he meant it, maybe he didn't. But it wasn't my job to figure that out anymore. It was his job to prove it. I hope that's true, Kyle, I said. But I can't wait around to find out. I have a book to publish, a life to live, a story to finish. I walked to the door, no one stopped me, I opened it myself. The cold air rushed in, but this time it felt good. Clean. Merry Christmas, I said over my shoulder, and I walked out. I didn't look back. Not because I wasn't curious. Because I knew if I looked back, I would see them standing in the doorway, begging. And I had already heard their begging. I had heard it 5 minutes after they threw me out. But begging without change is just noise, and I was done with noise. I walked to the bus stop, clutching my manuscript. The snow had stopped. The sun was trying to break through the clouds. It wasn't warm, but it was light. And light was enough. Over the next few months, my life changed in ways I never expected. The book came out in the fall. It became a bestseller. People wrote to me from all over the world. They said things like, "You wrote my story, and I finally feel seen, and thank you for giving me the courage to leave." I didn't feel like a hero. I felt like a person who had finally stopped lying to herself. And that, I learned, is the bravest thing any of us can do. My family didn't disappear. They called. They texted. My mom left voicemails that started angry and ended crying. My dad sent a letter, handwritten, saying he was going to therapy. Emma sent a short email. "I'm sorry, I'm working on myself." Kyle showed up at my apartment one rainy Tuesday with a six-pack of beer and a black eye. He had gotten into a fight at a bar, defending my book to someone who called it trash. We sat on my tiny balcony, watching the rain, and we talked for 3 hours. Real talk. About our childhood, about our parents, about the ways we had hurt each other. He told me things I never knew, that he had been jealous of me because I was brave enough to fail, that he had always wanted to be a painter, not a lawyer, that he married Brittany because she was safe, not because he loved her. I didn't forgive him, not all at once, but I started to understand him. And understanding, I learned, is the first step toward healing. The investigation into my dad's dealership went public. He didn't go to jail, but he paid a huge fine and lost the dealership. He and my mom sold the big white house on Maple Street and moved into a small condo. They started going to couples counseling. My mom got a job at a garden center, and for the first time in her life, she seemed happy. Tired, but happy. Emma got divorced. Chad left her for a younger woman, and Emma had to sell the big house and move into an apartment. She called me one night, sobbing, and said, "Now I know how you felt, all those years." "I'm so sorry, Megan." I didn't say, "I told you so." I said, "It gets better, I promise." And it did. The second book I wrote was about a family that falls apart and comes back together, not because they have to, but because they choose to. It was harder to write than the first one. The first one was about pain. The second one was about forgiveness. And forgiveness, I learned, is not a feeling. It's a decision you make every single day. 3 years after that Christmas, I went back to my parents' condo for Thanksgiving. It was small and crowded and nothing like the old dinners. My mom burned the turkey. My dad forgot to buy wine. Emma brought a store-bought pie and didn't apologize for it. Kyle came alone because he and Brittany were separated, and for the first time he seemed like himself. Lighter, happier. We sat around a folding table with mismatched chairs, and we ate burnt turkey and store-bought pie, and we laughed. Real laughter, not the fake kind from the old days. After dinner, my dad stood up and tapped his glass with a fork. "I want to say something," he said. His voice was rough. 3 years ago, on Christmas, we did something terrible. We threw Megan out, and 5 minutes later we begged her to come back. But it wasn't because we loved her. It was because we were scared. He looked at me. His eyes were wet. "I've spent 3 years trying to become someone who deserves to be your father. I'm not there yet, but I'm trying. And I want you to know that I am proud of you." Not because of the books or the money, because you were brave enough to leave and brave enough to come back. That takes more strength than I ever had. I didn't cry. I had done enough crying. But I stood up, walked over to him, and hugged him. For the first time in my life, it didn't feel like I was hugging a stranger. It felt like I was hugging my dad. Later that night, I sat on the balcony of the condo, looking at the stars. My mom came out with 2 mugs of tea and sat beside me. "I was jealous of you," she said quietly. "For years, you were everything I wasn't: brave, creative, free. And instead of celebrating you, I tried to break you." "I am so sorry, Megan." I sipped my tea. "I know, Mom. Do you forgive me?" I thought about it. Not because I was angry, because forgiveness is not automatic. It's a choice you make when you're ready. "I'm working on it," I said. "But I need you to know something. My forgiveness is not required for you to change. You have to change because you want to be better, not because you want me to forgive you." She nodded. "I understand." We sat in silence for a while, watching the stars, and I thought about that Christmas night. The snow, the slammed door, the phone buzzing with the group chat, the way I threw up in the snowbank, the walk home in the freezing rain, the call to my editor. I thought about the moment I realized that my family's begging meant nothing if it wasn't backed by change. And I thought about the moment I realized that I didn't need their begging at all. I needed my own strength. And I had it. I always had it. I just forgot for a while where I put it. My family threw me out at Christmas dinner. 5 minutes later, they begged. But the real story isn't about their begging. It's about what happened after. The years of silence. The slow, painful work of becoming whole. The choice to forgive, not because they deserved it, but because I deserved peace. Some people think revenge is about making the other person hurt. But I learned something different. The best revenge is living well. Not to prove anything to them. To prove it to yourself. I wrote this story so that anyone who has ever been thrown out, literally or emotionally, knows that they are not alone. The door may slam. The snow may fall, but you are not nothing, you are not invisible, you are a story that is still being written, and you get to decide how it ends. As for me, I'm still writing, every day, every page, and the ending, I'm not there yet. But I know one thing for sure. It will not end with a slammed door. It will end with an open one. And on the other side, not begging but belonging, on my own terms, in my own time. The snow melts, the door opens. And sometimes, just sometimes, the family that threw you out learns to pull you back in. Not because you need them, because they need you. And that, right there, is the best kind of revenge. But even if they never learn, even if they never change, you will still be okay. Because you are not the door, you are not the snow, you are the one walking through it. And no one, no matter how loud they beg, can take that away from you. My family threw me out at Christmas dinner. 5 minutes later, they begged, and I walked away. That was the beginning. This is the middle. And the end is still coming, but I'm not afraid anymore, because I know how the story goes now. The girl who was thrown out becomes the woman who walks back in. Not because she has to, because she chooses to. And that choice right there is the whole point. Merry Christmas. Happy Thanksgiving. Whatever day you're reading this, know that you matter. You have always mattered, you just forgot, and it's never too late to remember.